Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. If you're joining us straight from Channel 31 and this week's edition of In Pit Lane, or from the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Hi, how are you? It's good to see you again. Sorry about last week. We were just flat out up in Darwin. We had every intention of doing a show from up in Darwin, but basically all the cameras and all the equipment was at the track, and we were absolutely exhausted by the time this rolled around, and I just sort of said, no, let's pull the plug on this. So it was very much a last minute decision, but our apologies for not turning up last week. But it was a great weekend. If you watch the stream from Hidden Valley over the weekend, thank you very much for the support of that. We had between ourselves on our YouTube channel and also on the Andrew YouTube channel. We had over 15,000 people were watching the stream. I think we're up about 16,500 people total views now. So that was really good. It came together really quickly, and I must admit, on occasions it showed. But when you consider it was like a 5-camera live stream, just between myself, Stuart, and a guy we met up there. We sort of picked up a guy up in Darwin, Brad Stott. Brad, if you're watching, mate, thank you so much. He was absolutely sensational. Hadn't done anything like that before, and just picked it up and ran with it and did the camera work at the trackside, and he was just fantastic. So so thank you to Brad, and thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody who took part. So, but anyway, as you can see, the crew are joining us once again. We've got Pete, we've got Richard, we've got Chris has just joined us, and also Doc in the corner, getting into the Olympic spirit, which basically is either catching COVID or in true Olympic catching a sexually transmitted disease.
Have you got some flamethrowers left over from last weekend? Have you up there from Darwin? You brought back down to just toss around a little bit, have you?
I have to say that the Olympic Games would be the most overrated waste of money, time, and effort that I've ever seen in my life. I despise, and this is coming from somebody who, actually, believe it or not, actually used to run competitive athletics.
Hang on, all right. Put all that aside for a second, and the individual efforts by the athletes over many years, I do recognise. Thank you.
Well, good luck to them, but they shouldn't be having the Olympics in the middle of a pandemic. And
saying all that, I'm talking about the athletes that actually put their time into actually trying to be the best in the world, whether it be a long jump or a high jump or a marathon or something like that. And they make sacrifices themselves, which they're entitled to do because that's their lives. But I'm saying that's the effort they make. I actually recognise the fact the individuals that do make the effort over the years.
Oh look, there are great moments in every Olympics that you remember. I mean, I'll probably watch the 100 and the 200 on the track. I might, if I flip around, if I accidentally come across the beach volleyball, I'll clean it up. But I mean, apart from that, I don't think that
there's a lot of risk injuries in the volleyball.
A lot of yes, there's a lot of risk.
A lot of risk injuries in the beach volleyball.
There is no motor racing in the Olympics. And that's an interesting thing. Should there be motorsport in the Olympics? I think there should, and I think it should be karting. There you go, I've said it. Karting would be an affordable way, controlled karts, controlled tyres, just there. Karts picked at random, and all competitors under 18. Between 12 and 18, there you go. We could have someone like our mate Hugh Barter could be representing Australia in karting in the Olympics, and it would be far more entertaining than... I mean, what have they got this year? Rock climbing and skateboarding and... Yeah, but anyway. Hello to everybody. Hello to Russell. Hello to Box. Hello to Gemini. Mad Cow Mark. I hope you enjoyed the weekend, Mark. I saw you tune in over the weekend on Friday and Saturday. Tony, g'day Tony. How are you?
How you going, everyone?
Brad. Yes, well, we shall in a moment. We will get to that. BMX is not bad actually. BMX I quite good. I don't mind
It's been
watching.
that's been for a few years now. Now that one.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a bit of fun. But anyway, well, let's talk about. I have to admit, if you watched the show earlier tonight and you saw the news, I was saying it's been a busy weekend in motorsport, and here's all of the news. You might have noticed something was missing, and that was supercars, because I had no idea there was a supercar race on the weekend. I mean, until earlier this afternoon when I flicked on and went, you're like, hang on, that's right. There were two meetings at the Townsville. Totally
Oh, just up the beaten track from you. Just up the beaten track from you. Stone's throw away.
Well,
Stone throw?
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a talk about Olympics. That'd be one hell of a throw.
Well, in Australian bush terms, it is just a state across. No big deal. I mean, we are a continent, remember?
There were a bloody big one too. I tell you what, nearly 5 hours to get up to Darwin. If you ask me what Darwin's like, I can tell you it's like a racetrack, because that's all we saw. We saw the airport, where we were staying, and thank you once again to Matt Abel, the top door slammer driver up in and president of the Hidden Valley Drag Racing Association. He put Stuart and I and a number of people, commentators. Also, the place was full of drag racing people. He put us all up for the weekend. It was so. Thank you for your hospitality, and thank you to the Hidden Valley Drag Racing Association and to Matt and everybody up there who made it possible. As I said, it literally came together minutes before our last show here. As people will, as the people on the panel will ascertain too, I got a message 5 minutes out from the show saying, contact Matt, Hidden Valley, it's urgent. And it was literally, can you guys jump on a plane and get up here and do this live stream? And we did, and it was, as I said, it was great fun. What a venue! I tell you what, that is a fantastic setup they've got there. You got the drag strip, you got the circuit. They're both world class, fabulous. There's a speedway right nearby. There's a dirt track karts. Didn't have time. There was a kart meeting, dirt track karts and quad bikes happening sort of like, just as you were coming into the track. And I thought, if I could get up there with a camera, but just didn't have time at all. But great place. So head up to the Northern Territory. If you get a chance to go and see something at Hidden Valley, definitely do it. But I'll have to get up there at some stage and go and actually have a look. We saw the city from the distance as we were driving out of the track on Thursday. We sort of looked over and saw a few tall buildings and went, that's Darwin. And that's as close as we got to it.
Yeah, I took a look at the complex from Google Maps, and it looks quite large and it's quite good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's there. I'm just going to straighten this up, but there we are. That's why that's because these are very direct mics. So thanks, Mark. Yeah, it was. I was just really surprised at just how good it was. I suppose I shouldn't have been, because it's only a fairly new venue, but it just had everything, and the drag strip was beautifully prepared. The race circuit is lovely. The pit area is fantastic. Everything about it was just brilliant, and they're very lucky to have it up there. It's a terrific venue. So as I said, if you get the chance to go up there, do head up and have a look at it, because it's a fantastic place to go racing, and it really is so close. It's only about 25 minutes out of the heart of Darwin, so it's not far away. So it's very easy to get to, even if you went up there and you didn't have a car or anything. A taxi or an Uber or something is probably only going to cost you $15, $20 tops to get there. So great weekend of drag racing up there. Hoping to do more live streams later on. They actually, talk about last minute, they actually asked us on Saturday. They said, seeing you're up here, could you stay for another week and do Alice Springs next week? But bit.
You got that vibe beforehand, and they said they needed to work on their concept and work on their presentation, but it didn't eventuate, unfortunately.
Well, no. See, what happened was they already had someone else. I think they had Sporting Scribe were supposedly going to do it, and they got locked down, of course, and that's what we were worried about. I mean, because we were just waiting for the word that we were going to get locked down, and we were very lucky. We got in Wednesday night at just before midnight. And then on Thursday, anybody coming from Victoria had to quarantine, and they backdated it, but it was only people who arrived after 5 o'clock on that day. So we got in beforehand. So so we were really lucky, because if we'd have been in quarantine, everybody in Matt's house would have been in quarantine, which included the race director, Ray Treasure, a number of the competitors. It would have been lots of the another one of the commentators. A lot of people would have been locked down with us, and I don't think we'd have been particularly popular. But there we go. Chris, drag racing in the southeastern suburbs. We would love one. Yeah, I haven't. Unless you're talking about Cardinia, there will be no drags if it's ever built. There will be no drag strip out there, that's for sure. But yeah, I'd love that. If you know anything about it, Gemini, give us let us know, because I haven't heard anything. Doc, you're out here as well. Have you heard anything? I think Doc's frozen. Yes, Doc is frozen. And Richard,
no, he's got no audio.
Well, that's weird. Everyone else is frozen except for me too now. Okay.
And Richard has no audio. There you go,
Okay.
Richard. There he goes. There you go.
Thank
We
you.
can hear you,
We're
Richard.
all working again.
I was.
Yep.
That's all right.
Oh, Doc's frozen. I was going to say Hammond Road's a good one in Dandenong as a drag strip.
Yeah, well, it's certainly got a history. Certainly got a proud history. I would like that, because, as you know, I'm about 5 minutes from Hammond Road, so
Yes.
I could walk down there. It would be that would suit me. It's like, I can imagine the residents around here wouldn't be happy, but this resident would be absolutely delighted. They're going to build a racetrack just across the road. Yes!
Yeah, there's a lot of illegal street drags going around the place. But remember when I went through the Cardinia Council's Freedom of Information records there about 2 years ago, Brett, when we had a quick look at it and I flicked through, there were long-term plans to create a drag strip at the complex, but not in the immediate.
Yeah, well, if you remember, in those plans, what it said, it didn't say a drag strip. It said a drag straight. And when you read the fine print, it said that it would basically be the main straight of the circuit, and it would be used for off-street racing only, and probably over sort of an eighth of a mile or something like that. So certainly not a proper drag strip. There was a rumor going around, or a proposal from the guy who owned the Tooradin airfield, saying that about the possibility of converting some area there, or even just using the runway as a regular drag strip, but that obviously got shot down in flames at the time. A drag strip where we know, as we saw like last week on the show with Lance Warren, we've got Heathcote happening. Got a lot of flack because I mentioned the fact that that yes, actually Calder Park is not closed. Calder Park, there will be drag racing at Calder Park. People didn't like me mentioning that last week. The sport is so fragmented. It was amazing over the weekend just talking. And if you watched tonight's show and heard Rob Taylor, the Mad Professor there, look, he's a controversial character, but he's a straight shooter, and I don't think he was wrong when he was talking about sort of the state of drag racing at the moment, and the fact that basically everybody needs to work together. We've got another new series coming along. The Top Fuel guys have sort of broken away from. So you had the breakaway, which formed 400 Thunder, and now you've got a breakaway from 400 Thunder with just the Top Fuel guys who have got in there and are proposing a 6-round national series, which would include Calder Park and probably Adelaide International Raceway. Interesting, some of the people involved in that. One of the guys from the I think he runs things like Summer Nats and all the rest of it, but also Nathan Prendergast. And Nathan has a long experience in television production with AVE and Speed Week on SBS and all the rest of it. So they'll certainly have a good television package together. So
ex North Melbourne football player as well too.
And
this will be another Nathan Prendergast.
Oh, different one. That's
he's actually Kevin. His father used to run Sydney Dragway and was heavily involved in a lot of the sport. Kevin, and then Nathan got involved through him. Nathan got involved in television production. So
hopefully Calder Park finally gets their well, there you go, Gemini 355. His son needs a racetrack. Well, look, there will be one in the vicinity of a few k's of Melbourne CBD that could be obviously transported from either side. However, we've just got to have fingers crossed. I said this to you last year, Brett, but obviously we've had a few speed humps along the way. That Calder Park is up and running by summer. I know they're not going to get their best times down the track with the heat and the cold air intake, and we might see a few ice bags under the bonnet like we have in the past. However, they need to get it up and running for the summer series, which is not as popular as the winter as usual. But we'd like to see that. And otherwise, I'll just be heading out to the country.
Yeah, well, I think that for everything over, I mean, for all of us over this side, it's one of those things that like Calder Park is sort of far enough away. Heathcote is obviously when Stuart was saying well, Heathcote, it's just up the road from me. It's and when you look at it, I mean, where he is in Melton and all the rest of it, Heathcote is not really that far away. It's as he said, he's closer to Heathcote than he is to Sandown. So he's delighted that's up there. So it's such a big area. It really would be good if we had like a couple other racetracks around. And Cardinia's gone very quiet. And as I said, there was no real plan for any major drag strip there. And in terms of sort of getting people off the streets, that's what you want. I mean, sort of, yes, people can go and race circuit racing and all the rest of it, but I mean, basically to get the hoons off the street, you got to give them a drag strip, and that's at the moment we just don't have that in Melbourne. There's nowhere unless you go up to Heathcote or all the way up to Mildura or down to South Coast or one of those sorts of tracks, or Wilby or somewhere like that. You got nowhere legal to race at all. So
just before we move on, though, we had a couple of requests over the weekend through.
No, we're not doing that. I said we're not doing that. I'll draw the line. No.
What? You're not? Oh, you didn't get the shorts up in Darwin to match the shirt. That's what we were having requests of. You don't do it. You didn't get the shorts.
No, look, I have to admit, Stuart was in the shorts. It was something that.
No, you were supposed to have the shorts to match the shirt you were wearing last week. Remember?
Hey, listen. Speaking of there, as Mark is pointing out, our trackside commentator Matt from Adelaide. If I'd have had those trousers and my shirt got there, I mean, people would have. I mean, he was. They were loud trousers. There's no doubt about it. They were very happy pants. They were
louder than some of the cars.
Yeah, they were. They were louder. As I said at one stage, it looked like he'd been. He was wearing a white pair of jeans, and a group of graffiti artists mugged him and held him down for like 7 hours. I
reckon he went to Spotlight and just threw up on something, and then they sewed it together. Surprise!
They apparently came from some American golf shop, and that's sort of his gimmick. They were fabulous looking things, but.
Was that? Daly. Daly used to get some bloody gear out there, getting still on sport, of course. But John O'Daly, geez, he used to be able to club a ball too. I think he had the record there, or maybe he still does it. probably at most courses, but he used to be able to thump a ball with a wood across about 20 fairways all in one hit. So, but he used to get some loud pants and gear on, didn't he?
Well, he was probably too drunk to realise. I mean, he liked to, he liked to drink, or three or four. So now, speaking of, getting back to motor racing before we get on to supercars and Formula One and things like that. We need to get on to probably the important stuff there, Paul van der Acker has signalled that has brought this up, and that is we need a race report from Richard from Winton, and Paul would like to know, how did you manage to practice in the wrong XL class on Saturday morning? Tell us all.
Very good, Paul. Well, I can tell you, they dropped the trucks out of the thing, and because I'm so technologically dyslexic, I didn't know they'd printed out a new schedule. So I saw it was the right time, and they said XLs. So I went out. Yeah.
How was it against all the other BMWs that you're up against?
Yes.
Just as well it wasn't sports sedans. I mean, by Jesus,
Jeez, he would have been absolutely mugged.
Hey, hold a second. I've just entered for tin tops at Phillip Island, so I could be up against any sorts of vehicles.
Well,
it could be, yeah. There you go.
You're brimming with that much confidence, are you? Now you're actually going to
No. I'm just going to get practiced on being lapped. How to notice blue flags?
Or you're searching for some clear air. That's all. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
How to have you track to yourself during a race?
Yeah. As I said before, I've entered this class to make the young guys look good, and I'm doing a fabulous job of it.
Well done. You've sort of become the XL Racing sort of a version of what they call in the pro wrestling world enhancement talent, or as they in the slang of it, a jobber. You're doing the job to make them put over the stars.
Or we call in an AFL a professional free kick. So,
yes.
However, don't be shy. This is only about practice. How did the rest of the day go, please, Mr. Richard?
I got better through to the third race, which went reasonably well, except here I made a great start, and they started crashing up in front of me at turn one, so I had to avoid all that. Lost again, and then I had to make them all up. But race 4 went pretty crap. The car was missing, and the back end was starting to flop around. No, the back end was sort of flapping around like jazz hands.
I was going to say, just blame it on the material things. That's all right. Nothing about the driver at all. I could tell us nothing like that. No.
The driver's the biggest
I'm joking.
The biggest anchor on the whole car.
I love you, Richard. I love your car, and we hope you do well. And I can't wait to catch up with you and see it in flesh like I did last time.
Well, it's not quite as straight as it was. I had a flat tyre in a private practice a week before that, and I went straight on at turn 2, and scratched it.
Oh, okay. And you got what? Yeah. You got some free stones for your driveway when you take home, and just let them all drop out.
No. Actually, I got a lot of Benalla Auto Club's white paint.
Oh, okay.
Crap loads of it. It just stuck to the whole car.
Signature white paint, specially your autograph.
Exactly.
So they use acrylic or enamel?
Here we go.
I think it's acrylic. It didn't wash off with the turps.
Flat white to match his flat tyre.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, well, as Paul's saying, shame the AMRS got canned due to lockdown. Also, this weekend's the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship. Had we been in the studio on Tuesday night, our guest was going to be Jordan Sinney, who's currently I think leading the Victorian and also the Australian Formula Ford Championship, and he was going to be our guest on the program and be racing this weekend at Sandown. Obviously, that's been cancelled or postponed as well. Look, we're all up in we're really when you look at it in many respects, we're no further on than we were this time last year. It's getting very depressing at the moment. I mean, we really should be. We really expected that we would be out of. We'd be out of this situation now, but we managed to get back for, I think, what it was, 3 shows in the studio, and then we're out of it again. So I'm not sure what's happening. Certainly, there'll be no studio show next week, and there'll be no studio. We'll have to find out what we're going to do there.
To reiterate you, Brett, we were where we are, and it's not just us. It's all probably we're going to throw Asia under the bus here. MotoGP, there's not real much news. I can talk about Dobby. Says he doesn't think he's retired yet. Big kudos and congratulations, and go your hardest. Danny Pedrosa's got a wild card for a KTM in the next MotoGP if they have one, because the bad news for the week, and really haven't got much to go on over on MotoGP, is that Thailand's been cancelled again for another year, which was to coincide. And I tipped that a couple of weeks ago. I said that you watch, it'll go too. And I didn't even hear a whisper or get a tap on the shoulder of that. I said, I bet you it goes. And then you said to me straight afterwards, Brett, you're probably right. You might be onto something there, because they won't want to muck around with a calendar down here too much if they got it. Especially, but Thailand's probably sown their own. Probably death won't, because the amount of cases that are going on with the world pandemic anyway. So that's the huge, massive roundup of MotoGP this week. I got nothing except for.
Well, let's get on to that. Stuart has joined us, and I imagine Stuart probably wouldn't have known there was a supercar. Were you aware at all there was actually a supercar race last weekend? Because I wasn't.
Well, firstly, let's see if the audio is working.
It is.
Turns out NDI 5 and Chrome do not work well together yet.
Okay, yes.
So this is a little USB grabber, and it's schmozzles, and it's working. So this is the microphone on the camera instead of a regular microphone. So I apologise if the audio is a little sucky. The opinions, I'm not going to apologise for. The opinions, I'm not going to apologise for.
You're coming through quite well, GMS.
Cool.
No, a little
V8
bit echoey.
supercars. Before I get to that, have we discussed Formula One and the absolute crap?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
We've been waiting for you. We've been saving it up.
Holding our powder. We've got all the
Well, I had to
people
get this thing to work. Anyway, yes, I did notice there was a V8 supercar round, only because I think their stream rated lower than our combined ratings for Andra in pit lane at Darwin. And
That's right.
if anyone from Darwin is watching, love the place, love the people. That is an amazing facility that you guys have, and we would be glad to go back again. It was a brilliant weekend. Andra and Ray ran a tight event, and it ran to time, and it was beautiful, even though I did have to provide the Wi-Fi for the Andra timing on 1320 Go. Shout out to 1320 Go for displaying the live timing. So that was fed up and down via the Calder Park Wi-Fi.
Great teamwork, in other words, by the sound of things.
Yeah, it was. We pulled it together very well. I think under the circumstances, we pulled it together. On very late notice, and basically what we could fit in our luggage.
There's a Stanley toolbox behind me that carried the entire OB kit minus the cables. And shout out to Sean, Wayne, and Matt who did commentary. Start of the weekend, they were still getting to know each other. The end of the weekend, they were brilliant together. If anyone from Andra's listening, I would happily work with those three again, and maybe it would be a great idea to have a consistent commentary team to move to all the events.
Yeah, and also I've already said thank you to our mate Brad up there as well, who, as I said, really just turned up and knocked it out of the park. He was
you must have given him a nickname, Stoddy, by now, wouldn't you?
No.
Only because our science teacher, I had a science teacher for 6 years at high school, and his name was It doesn't matter what his first name was, but his surname was Stott, Stott, and he got Stotty. But every student in the whole school called him Stotty after a while. But anyway.
Well, we did. We called him Brad. We called him Brad, and he's a top guy up there. He's been around the drag racing scene there. He was everyone knew him. He was very popular there. And as I said, he had done some stuff, some stuff on GoPro, and done some interesting, some really good stuff. He's got to. I've got to get the link to his to that TikTok channel that he's got, because I'm not really into TikTok, but he showed us some stuff that he did with some burnout cars and that sort of thing, and some burnout competitions up there, and they were fantastic. Some really good stuff, and he's got tens of thousands of views with the things.
If anyone takes a close look at the cameras that we had on the wall, just in front of one camera is a couple of GoPro mounts on, like, literally stuck down to the wall. Those are Brad's action camera mounts for when he's doing stuff out at Hidden Valley. So when I looked at where they were and compared it to where we were, it's like, yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah, it was really good. Well, let's jump into now that everyone's here. Let's jump into to Formula One, because I did know that was on, and I did actually. I was desperately tired, but I did manage to stay up and watch the race. I wasn't going to, but I thought
you only had to watch one lap.
Well, that was it. I thought, I thought I'll turn it on. I'll just watch the first few laps, and then I'll get there. And I turned on.
One lap. Did the whole bloody one was the whole race anyway.
One lap showed that the rule makers and the judges in that are so out of touch. You could clearly see from the overhead footage that there was no intention from either driver to hit each other.
I'm right with you.
It was pure racing, and there was no need for the penalties.
If anything,
I'm not a Hamilton fan, but for Hamilton to come back from that and win is a great effort. And frankly, Yoss crash happen, get off the road. Too many times that he's been involved in too many incidents with other people, including Daniel at Baku, where he basically brake tested him after taking the error off the nose.
if anything, Max changed direction. Lewis didn't. Max changed.
Oh no! Hang on. The greatest
racing incident.
I can argue. Yeah. I'm not arguing who's wrong, whose fault it is or not. But Peter,
it was a racing.
forget all that. I disagree with you with that comment. Hamilton did move more than what Verstappen did, so you can't say.
Yeah, Hamilton was washing wide. He was washing wide at the front end, but the back end was still tracking.
And the other thing was too, so Peter, you're completely wrong on that. Hamilton moved direction more than what Verstappen is. You just said exactly the opposite to that. What is? You're completely wrong. And the other thing is Verstappen didn't know where Hamilton was, because he wouldn't have been looking in his mirrors when he was taking the corner the way he does.
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to go against that one.
Max knew
he knows where he is, but he's not going to change his line when he was already in front.
But that's his thing. I mean, just because you're technically just in front, you can't. I mean, he was technically just in front, but both drivers have a responsibility to avoid the accident, and neither of them did. It was one of those things. They basically played chicken with each other. Max went. I'm not lifting off, and Max has got. And Max is going. I'm not lifting off. Lewis is saying I'm not lifting off. The main thing is it was very lucky, because obviously a really fast corner. They were very lucky. I mean, Max was very lucky the car didn't roll. He was very lucky that he got away. Just such a tribute to the to the safety, the Hans device, the car itself. They were very lucky that there weren't bits of car flying into the crowd at that stage too.
Frankly, if there was a penalty to be had, it should go to the Red Bull team boss, keeping on to the race manager over and over. And making a point that you can't make a pass through that corner when we've seen brilliant passes through that corner in the past.
Yeah.
I think the team radio thing is great, and it's brilliant for commentary and adds flavour to it. But I think it needs to be switched off and kept private for those sorts of incidents, because if they're going to, yes, they should be able to interact with the steward. And I know there's been a lot of teams saying they shouldn't do it since. Adrian Newey has already come out today and said it shouldn't happen, because obviously Toto was on the squealer as well too with it about. Everyone will have one of their 5 cents. It completely lit up like it does for anything like that. However, yes, I think when it comes down to it, maybe they were a bit hasty on making a decision on if there is a penalty or not, or whether it is and not taken into account. And there was no, especially on the first lap, there's no precedent of other cars doing exactly the same thing in the same circumstance and then having to follow a penalty for one. It's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. However, yes, they need to turn that, they need to switch it off, because you know what, people make mistakes in the heat of the moment, and they're just going to, and it sometimes happens, the wrong words come out, they don't really mean what they say, and it could be just from race control, just trying to deal with the situation and not have all the information in front of them at the time.
See, I disagree with that. I like the fact that we can hear that now. I mean, that was the sort of stuff that was kept away from the public. That was the sort of the drama that was going on, and a lot of this is because basically because of Liberty Media, who've looked at things like the Netflix series and the behind the scenes stuff to add another level of drama to people who didn't know. And also now with Michael Massey, I mean, whatever people think of him, and I think he's. It's a shame Dave Still's not with us tonight, because it'll be interesting, because I imagine he's worked with Michael in the past. I think he said the last time around he had worked with him in the past. But I think one of the things that Michael has done by allowing that sort of thing to come out and hearing the communication between the teams and race control, I think it just adds another level, and people know now that just what's happening on the track isn't the whole story. There's a whole other story happening. There's a whole subplot happening behind the scenes, which we're now being led into for the first time, and it's fascinating. And I think that to listen to the way that Michael was dealing with it all, and sort of saying to Christian Horner, like especially when he said, I've or it might have been Toto, whoever said, look, I've sent you an email, and it's like, I'm a bit busy to be.
Yeah, that was the Ferrari team boss.
What I'm worried about is, yes, I like the essentialism, I like the fanfare, I like the show business of it, like that. I'm worried about, say you've got a Michael Massey, or say you've got a John Bloggs, and he's obviously the main steward for the day. And let's just say he gets along with, say it's the same sort of two players. It might be Verstappen and Hamilton. This is completely hypothetical. There's a racing incident. He has to make a judgment. The microphone's on, and all he has to do is just comes out and he goes, oh, he's just a fuck. I didn't say the full word then, and he adds the C word, CUNENT, like it is behind it. And he may not mean anything by that throwaway comment, because he might be good friends with both drivers equally and goes around the world and has lunch with them and breakfast, but he just gets picked up on a microphone one day because he says such and such about someone. Now that is just going to, I know it's publicity. Any bad publicity is good publicity, but he could lose his job just because a stupid throwaway comment, which he doesn't even really mean. He's just commenting in the wrong context of a situation.
Yeah, Pete, I think Pete's going to say what I was going to say, Pete.
They do actually say things like that, and when they do, they actually get fined for it.
I'm talking about a big half a spray for a good 2 sentences, and they don't even really mean it's just said in the heat of the moment, but they're really good friends with the driver anyway. Why? I don't think someone should lose their job over
but we're not hearing that live. I mean, what they're sending out is the same with the communication between the drivers and the teams. It is filtered. It's very heavily filtered. We're getting that sort of more than 7 seconds behind. We're getting that in some cases 1 or 2 minutes behind. There's someone there listening to it. They're listening to it for those things. They're listening for it. For things that will bring the sport into disrepute. They're bringing in things that will possibly could be libelous or in some way contains language or anything like that. So we're not getting it live. Basically, they're deciding, the FIA or Formula One are deciding what we're hearing. So they're letting that stuff out. They're hearing that and saying, yes, okay, we can use this and we can use that. And they're doing it. They're doing it that way.
And the ones that have slipped through in the past, they've got hefty fines for.
Yeah, I think a few drivers. And look, to be honest with you, I think they let a few of those through because it's good television. I mean, got there,
but one thing, how did Hamilton took off Verstappen's wheel? How did he not lose the nose off his car? I mean, that's what usually happens.
'cause he hit it with the wheel.
That was one for the books.
Yeah, I think it was more tyre on tyre contact. But
Yeah,
if you had a look during
tyre,
when Hamilton was under the black, or like the whole race was stopped and everyone was in the pits, the team were attacking the front wing with the super glue to get the carbon fibre bits back together properly. So there was some damage, but it wasn't enough.
Very surprised. Lose a wheel. Sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
No, they were just. It was just that they were saying that that delay, that red flag, saved Lewis's race, because they did have time to make some temporary repairs that they were allowed. The repairs they were allowed to make under the circumstances, under those Parc Ferme conditions, they were allowed to make a number of repairs to get Lewis out there again. So that's the other thing about the drive. I mean, the car probably wasn't in the most perfect condition there. So the fact that he got through and won in such a manner was, once again, is a tribute to both him and Mercedes. But the other guy I feel sorry for in a way is Charles Leclerc, who just did absolutely nothing wrong and looked set for basically pretty much an all the way win, and then just couldn't bring it off in the end. But once again, he's showing his talent there. I think that what Box is saying
Leclerc
too,
and the Mercedes flips places, so really Bottas could have had a better finish as well.
Probably, yeah. Well, that's interesting. Is the rumour going around at the moment is that Mercedes have already made the decision regarding Bottas for next year. They're not obviously saying what it is as yet. I'd be really surprised if he wasn't replaced with Russell, but they can't sort of say it now, because otherwise they're going to have it's going to be dead man walking.
Well, in that case, there's a very good driver who will be available for other teams.
Well, they might end up doing the swap. I mean, Bottas could end up back at Williams, and Russell ends up. So he wouldn't be happy about that, but I mean, at least he'll still be in Formula One. Box saying about the drivers' briefing, about televising that would be really good. A lot of people, NASCAR are doing that. NASCAR are televising their drivers' briefing, and a number of smaller meetings. A couple of those. Couple of the Trans Am rounds and those vintage races that George Vidovic is running in, the Sports and Vintage Racing Association, they live stream most of their drivers' briefings now. And I think but the drivers' briefing, as we saw in the Senna documentary, it would be really, really good to see that, and then you would know, and also you know what to look out for in terms of when the clerk, of course, when the race director is sitting there and letting people know, these are the things we're looking out for. Here's the corners we're going to be watching very, very closely in terms of track limits. Here's the sort of behaviour that we don't want to see that we saw at the last meeting.
And also, especially what they say is we're going to be concentrating on a certain particular corner and a certain particular action as well, though, too, or exceeding track limits, which is some of the commentary that does come out. The other thing is, though, too, you might want to put your finger in your hand in your pockets a little bit more as well, because I think it was Hamilton that came out in the last week and says, "Oh yeah, look, you can televise the driver's briefing if you want to, but they might charge a bit extra for them because they go longer than what the qualifying race goes for now."
Yeah, let's talk about qualifying race. I went in there. I actually enjoyed. I thought the racing was fantastic. It was unfiltered. There was no pit stops to worry about. It was just pure car on car, driver on driver. Pete, what did you think?
I liked it, and the only reason that Sergio Perez started from in-pit lane is because Red Bull elected to change things that if you change, you start from in-pit lane or you get a grid penalty. So they elected to do it. None of that was damaged when he span off in the qualifying race. I think if it starts to get where there is a lot of damage and a lot of penalties issued, grid penalties issued as a result of damage, they will can it. But I liked it. I thought it was a good race. I thought it was going to be a bit of a procession, but it wasn't. It was a good race.
That's what I thought. I thought, they'll race into the first corner and then they'll go on. Okay, I'm not doing any damage. I'll just put up with what I put up with. But that certainly wasn't the case. I mean, the dice between Daniel and Fernando throughout the race was fantastic. I mean, they were really going at it hard. It seems that pretty much all the drivers were taking it pretty seriously. So and a few people did manage to get a couple of make up a couple of spots here and there, including Max, of course.
I think it allowed the midfield teams to gain a few spots, because like Daniel tends to in the races, he's tended to come up in the races, so I think it allowed things like that. And George Russell was another one.
Yeah, well, George, I thought George might be somebody, because he's done so well in qualifying this year in terms of his performance on, I was calling him sort of, Mr. Saturday Afternoon, but I thought he might be somebody who could suffer a bit in the race, but he didn't. He managed to keep up there in a good position, but. Be interesting to see when they have the next one and how it goes, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they end up sort of keeping this, because as was also said, it made Friday a lot more important as well. So it basically it probably did its job. I haven't seen any figures or anything, but I imagine it did its job or helped do its job in terms of what it was meant to do, and that is to drag both people through the gate, but also more particular television ratings on the Saturday, because there'd be a lot of people, particularly casual fans, and even hardcore fans who would just go, I'm not going to watch qualifying. I'll just watch. I'll find out. I'll find out later on in the day, or I'll find out tomorrow who did what, and then I'll just watch the race. But if you know that, there's a bonus race here that I'm going to get. It's only going to go for an hour. I think I'm going to watch everyone.
The only bad thing was I didn't get much sleep. Up at 3:00 and
yeah, that was the problem. After I don't know about Stuart, but I got in. I stayed up. I watched the race. I got there. I went to bed at about 1:30 or whatever it was after the weekend in Darwin. I woke up at about 7. Went back to bed at about 7:45 and slept until 3.
You know what? One of the best parts of the Hidden Valley stuff that you guys did up there, Brett, was when you got your phone out and you went down for the introduction on the Saturday and had a quick walk down, and there was only one car in the pits, but you got a sort of a feel for where the track was, where the V8s do go past usually, where the pits are, where the drag strip is. That 9-10 minutes you did was really good, because it painted a picture for what we could watch for the usual coverage for the rest of the weekend. So that's why that was really good. And then you jumped on the next day, and it was before the broadcast start, because you said, "Oh yeah, we'll be on about 5 o'clock this afternoon, blah 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 blah, when we kick off all the finals, etc." You did a little bit of an outlay again and said, "Oh, this is it, etc." I know you finished off with the happy, the thrown up pants at the end of it in the commentary box, but you went around the track and just sort of gave an introduction on what was going to happen for the rest of the day and how you go about it and what you're up to. And that was really good, because then you could get some insight to what was going on rather than just watching and having to guess on how things were panning out.
What I really wanted to do, and I didn't get the opportunity because we just didn't have time, and also my back was really playing up, as you can imagine, the back was playing up big time after the long flight up and all of the stuff, so I really didn't get an opportunity to do it. But if I'd have had time, I wanted to do it. I've got on the phone the Strava app, which I use to measure my walks and all the rest of it, and I just thought a walk on the Thursday when there was no one else on the track, I just wanted to set Strava up and do a walk around the complete circuit, because I would have had the circuit map sort of in Strava, and I really wanted to do that and wander around, but just didn't have the time to go around and do the whole circuit. But yeah, it was like as Stuart said, it was wonderful. But we saw none of Darwin. We saw as I said, we saw Matt's place, we saw the track, and we saw the pub. By the way, if you're at Hidden Valley and you want a good meal, I had Wagyu rump, 350 grams $29. It was fantastic. It was a really, really, really good.
Anyone have the steak sandwich or the Parma?
Stuart had the Parma.
Oh, yeah. Parma's nice. The chips are amazing.
Chips were good. Vegetables were good
The
in general.
veg was nice. A little black pepper and some salt. That's all you needed, and it was a fabulous meal.
And I had steak sandwiches on both days at the track.
Oh,
I had one.
Got two of them, right? Two for two. I'm pretty.
It was major because it was major meat fest on the weekend because Matt was cooking up a huge plate of meat in the morning for breakfast. It's like bacon and eggs. But forget about bacon and eggs. It was bacon and eggs and sausages and rissoles and it was a meat lover's paradise on the barbie. It was It was absolutely marvelous stuff. It was great to have that. And I had the steak sandwich from the caravan in the pit area, and then I went across. And I don't. Stuart would probably you wouldn't have had time, but I actually went over into the spectator area to get on the Saturday night to get something to eat there. And boy, is it a great place to watch some drag racing from. It's a terrific spot.
Did you pick up all the lolly papers while you were there?
No, I didn't. I didn't see any of the drivers doing it. Unlike Sebastian. I mean, I don't know what that was for. I don't know why, but have we heard anything about why he was doing that?
Oh, look, I think, that's been massively taken out of context since. And look, I've always been a knocker of Seb in the past because he cuts off most of the field and just destroys his car and anyone else's he can take with it. And I've always knocked him for that. But look, whether it was a publicity stunt or not, it was good. Good to see him actually get out there and does it. Like I was talking about, I think last year when during lockdown, all these car drivers were going out there and doing E-Series and doing that, and he just went back to his roots, literally into the field, and did his a little bit of a PhD in agriculture type stuff. I'm not sure if it was the full university kit on it, but so he's probably. Whether he's been told to pull his head in or he's just decided, I'm going to.
Like I said, I'm not surprised because, as I said, in my brief years, I haven't really done a one-on-one interview, but I've done a few things where Seb has been out here and there, and one of them was just down the road here, down the South Gippy Highway. They had a thing where he was out at a farm, and I got there early, and he'd got there early as well before any of this. So there was no one around apart from there was a few German media and myself, and you could tell Seb was having a ball. He was out there. He was with the sheep. He was out on the farm. He was learning how to work working with the sheepdog. You could tell he really loved this. And I said to him in the interview, I said you really look like you're enjoying it. And he's just big smiling. He said, "Oh yeah," he said, "that was wonderful. That was wonderful."
You do realise one of the
biggest love it.
One of the biggest manufacturers in the world of agriculture equipment, John Deere, is in fact German.
No. Yes, and they are widely known as the Apple of agricultural because you try and fix a John Deere. Yeah, to fix.
I never had any trouble fixing my father's Lance Bulldogs and KL Bulldogs, and they were German, and that's where John Deere originated from. They became Lancers, and they went to John Deere Lance, and then they now become John Deere on their own. So that's what I'm saying. All their heritage actually goes back to German agriculture machinery, and that's where it comes from. And I never had a problem. I mean, they're only the massive single-cylinder tractor, but I never had a problem working on. They were great. So,
he doesn't still have them, does he?
My dad sold the whole four of them about 2 to 3 years ago. He's about 70 odd now, and unfortunately, if you know how a Lance Bulldog or a Kelly and Lewis KL Bulldog works, they're a massive single cylinder, which two huge flywheels on either side of the tractor itself. And to start the tractor, you either have a hot bowl at the front of it, and you put a blowtorch on it for about 15 minutes, half an hour, depending upon the flame. You heat it up until it glows. Stuart's nodding there approvingly because he knows exactly what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, and stationary engines had some experience.
And then once you you imagine a flywheel, it's the size of probably of your oven in your house. They're not small, big flywheels. They're huge flywheels, the size of steam train wheels. And you take the steering wheel out off the cockpit at the top of you take the steering wheel off, you put it into the side of one of the flywheels on either side, and you literally rock it from side to side until it actually it starts. And they run on a variety of, they can run on crude oil, they run on diesel, they basically run on kerosene, they can run on lots and lots of different things. And you rock it side to side until it eventually takes, and the engine kicks over and starts from the heat of the blow lamp, which acts like a spark plug. And if you don't pull the steering wheel out as quick as possible when it finally kicks, you'll either break your arm literally or break the rest of your body while your arm's still attached to the steering wheel. So my dad's 70 odd now, and he got himself caught a couple of times very close. It's not a young person's job to start a Lance Bulldog or a Field Marshal or any of the old tractors. So I can still get away with it and still rip, but I've seen a few permanent injuries from those. But they're a wonderful sound. If you ever hear an old tractor with a massive single cylinder, they're like a thump. You can hear them about 10 k's away, and they draw a crowd everywhere.
Speaking of tractors, and I'll segue to traction engines, if anyone's after something humorous to look up, tractor pulls. There's a couple of blokes who take an old steam-powered traction engine to tractor pulls in the US, and it is always a full pull. Cool. Stuff where the trucks can't do it, the tractors can't do it. This ancient steam-powered traction engine just rips the sled along. The only thing comes close is the German army occasionally take a Leopard tank to the European ones.
I don't know if there's any footage on YouTube, but I know all you guys are familiar with this. The closest thing we probably got to it here in Victoria was, I'm going back to the Recar days with the drag stuff like that, but the Wandong Country Music Festival used to have proper tractor pulls in it, and that was something that, well, we'll probably never see again in our lifetime, unfortunately, but they used to do tractor pulls. They had a massive stage with all the music on it, and boy, did that have a crowd. And they had some great amusements there.
Okay, so Michael has the background on John Deere. John Deere is American, yes.
Yeah, I thought
it's an American name, but it's still
no. I'll get it. John Deere itself was founded in the US, but in 1956, John Deere purchased Lanz, which is the German tractor company. So there's a very old history. So the Bulldog tractors come from Lanz and are then part of the John Deere family. In the same way that a Chrysler is a Fiat, is a Peugeot, all under Stellantis, which is the new company that is made up of all the Hoon brands that there are out there. Every brand that has a racing heritage is pretty much under that banner now, except for Porsche.
It's funny you should say that, because now they're talking about, because of the Stellantis or whatever it's called connection. We saw the Peugeot LMP car, or the Le Mans hypercar, the full size scale model of that they're going to run without the wing. The story now is that might end up racing in IMSA in the United States, and it might be branded and it might be branded as a Dodge.
That'd be nice.
So that's one of the stories going around. The other one with them as well is you'll know that Sauber have re-signed Alfa Romeo as naming rights sponsor of their team and as engine supplier. There is once again another rumour going around that in a couple of years' time, Alfa Romeo, and this was from Midweek Motorsport, Alfa Romeo, believe it or not, and this is this is where people are thinking, there is a rumour, and apparently it's been confirmed at some high level, Alfa Romeo are supposedly going to change their name to Alfa E Romeo, The E, of course, standing for electric, because all of their cars, as of 2 years' time, will all be electric. And so they're saying that they might move away from Formula One and the branding there, and the Formula One cars could be rebranded as either Maserati or Lancia, or even some one of the Chrysler brands.
You know what people are going to
There's
start
a
saying
lot-
straight away? If they were to go through with that, if that rumor does become complete fruition, they won't. People won't be saying Alpha E Romeo. Everyone will just go Alfie Romeo. They'll just shorten it. And unfortunately, that doesn't sound as traditional as it could be. They'll just go Alfie.
Alfie Romeo. Alfie Romeo.
Alfie,
Exactly,
that's like from the
exactly.
1960s movies.
I
It
think
does,
Yep.
they're gonna
named
wreck the
after
name.
Alfie Costanzo. Will be Alfie Romeo.
no.
Eh?
And look, all that's all good fun and jest, but don't wreck the name.
No, I think it would be a really, really stupid move.
Tragedy.
And they're so keen to sort of green everything up, and because people just aren't buying cars. I mean, young people just don't want cars. It's as simple as that. They've got no interest in buying them unless because for 1,001 reasons. But they're just not selling them. I mean, cars are just not
They
being
all
sold.
want they all want a job in IT and work from home now.
Well, which you can easily do. Not a problem.
Who's going to
Well,
fix
they
your
won't.
plumbing?
Well, no, but they're
You're going to do
the
everybody's.
they're
The blue collar
jobs.
workers are the ones that'll. Yeah, so there'll be
Yeah.
more tradie utes on the thing.
If
So
you've
that
got-
means
if
the
you've got a
Rams
kid-
and the Dodgers.
Yeah. If you've got a kid out there and you want to set them up for life, don't send them to university. Trust us. A lot of us have been to
Trade
university. Send them to trade school, become a plumber, an electrician,
Tafe.
a carpenter.
Called now. Tafe.
There will always be.
Go to university. Become a data processor. That's where it's all happening.
No.
Well, they've been trained for 10 years on how you need to code. If you can code these days, you can become anything.
Says someone
you-
who was a
Yeah, you
trader
can become a
this
very
life.
poorly paid coder.
Yeah, or yeah.
Yeah, and basically, in competition with lots of other poorly paid coders in poorly paid countries like India, who are just, who you've got to compete against. And it's like, well, they're doing it for $4.50 an hour.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. You can't make your computers expensive.
Yeah, $4.50 an hour is not going to pay for the tyres for a club sport car or a hill climb or whatever. But you look at all the people who can afford to go racing, and it's all blue collar jobs.
Yep. Yeah, as we
Oh,
saw on the-
that
as
just
we saw on
sounds
the
very
weekend.
narrow thinking. Very narrow.
And no, I don't think so. I think he's onto something there, because there may be blue collar jobs. They spend their money on the black stuff instead of actually spending on the illegal illicit drugs, and that's what the other ones
Yep.
spend it on.
or both.
Well, let's face it, if you get your kids into motorsport or you get your kids into cameras, they won't have the money to spend on other things.
That's it. And unfortunately, we're into both. So that's no wonder we're absolutely poor forever. Hey, anyway, listen, thanks for joining. I think we pretty much exhausted all of that. It was fun to catch up with everybody again after last week. As I said, we had it all planned out. We knew where we were going to shoot, and we knew what we were going to do. But it was just it was 3 really, really, really big days up there, and as I said, came together very much at the last minute. And yeah, there were a few glitches here and there, and there were things we would do differently if we get the opportunity again. As I said, hopefully coming up a little bit later in the year, there will be rounds of the Australian National Drag Racing Championship at both Calder Park and Adelaide, and if all goes according to plan, we'll be out there doing the live streams for them as well. That's certainly the plan with everybody at the moment. So thanks for watching. By the way, as I've already spoken to somebody in the last Dave Parker and a couple of people in the last few days about other live stream opportunities. If you've got a meeting coming up, whether it's a drag race meeting, speedway, hill climb, just about anything, remember that obviously we can actually do live streams, and we can do them at a price that hopefully you can afford. So give us a call if you're interested. Next week on the show on In Pit Lane, don't know know exactly what we're going to have on.
Right. Handball. He talks. Yeah, everyone point in the right direction.
He does the
Email.
marketing, I do the tech.
That's what I'm about to say. Email the show at inpitlane.com.
And,
That's the one.
yes. And let me do it right for you.
That's all right.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll see you
We'll help you out with the PR a little
Grand
bit.
sale,
Thank you.
grand sale, grand sale.
Grand sale.
Everything must go.
Arrivederci, everybody.
So
We'll
must
see you
we.
next week. See you next week.
In a Hampton Park.
In the Hampton Park. Go play there, Hampton Park. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.